Well, there's a recent study out by Pew Research that showed 8 in 10 Americans knew the Holocaust was an attempt to annihilate the Jewish population.
But basic details like how many Jews died and where they were forced to live were lacking, especially among U.S. teens. To discuss the Holocaust and why it should never be forgotten is historian and author Dan McMillan. Dan, thank you, sir, for coming on. I know this is a tough day for so many across the country and the world to remember such an atrocity like this. What concerns...
Thank you for having me.
What concerns do you have about generations potentially forgetting about the Holocaust?
Well, there definitely is. I think among the younger generations, there seems to be insufficient education. One of the things that was also striking that I learned just in the last couple of weeks was that 33 out of our 50 states do not have mandated by law any kind of Holocaust instruction or genocide instruction in their history classes, and I think that's a pretty grave error. So this is definitely a problem.
Why do you think it's not taught in those states?
Well, whenever you're talking about something that doesn't happen, it's a hard question. But one thing I'd like to say about understanding the Holocaust generally, I think that that a lot of people, without really knowing it, are actually pretty ambivalent about wanting to understand why this happened, because the Holocaust, for certain reasons, is really the only historical event that truly frightens us. And I think a lot of people, including even people in the field who have studied it, there's an inhibition of fear that if I really come to understand fully how this happened, how it was possible, I may learn something about myself, about human nature, that I can't live with. Because I don't think anyone should argue that the Holocaust is objectively worse than other episodes of genocide or mass suffering, but there are certain things that were unique about the moral depravity of the perpetrators, and in particular, the way that they completely rejected the idea that individual human life had intrinsic value. That was a watershed moment in our history. It has never happened before or since. And I think that is the source of the special terror that this holds for us. The Holocaust is the only historical event that frightens people. And just as much as that gives us a sound reason to want to understand it, it also drives people away from wanting to understand it. It's a little bit like staring at the sun. It's so painful. You look at it and then you have to look away.
That's a good point. So you wrote, "How could this happen?" explaining the Holocaust. What concerns do you have about today's global situation? And I mean, we've seen the rise in anti-Semitism, just in the last year or so in particular, that could lead to history repeating itself.
Well, I do think I'm not concerned about a genocide happening in a first world country like ours, like Germany, in any of the world's wealthy democracies. The rise in anti-Semitism is very troubling. It has directly been affecting the lives of, in particular, Jewish communities in Western Europe. In recent years, I think a lot of that is persecution by Muslim immigrants. That said, in the developing world, this is not an anti-Semitism problem, where you have such a degree of overpopulation and scarce resources, and then as the impacts of climate change already affect scarce, inadequate sources of drinking water and food, I think the potential for famine, for war fought over resources, for genocide, in Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, the greater Middle East, parts of South Asia, there are some terrifying scenarios out over the horizon. I don't have a crystal ball, but I have to tell you, I don't like to think about it too much. That makes it hard to sleep at night.
All right, Dan McMillan, author and historian, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about the subject. We really appreciate it. And there's the book, How This Could Happen.
Thank you so much for having me.
How could this happen?